in hand. In the morning, there's a quiet light and an almost ethereal hum in a restaurant kitchen. This moment is one of the pastry chef's many rewards. Unlocking the door, the first one in after a night of clatter and shouting, whispered cursing, eye-rolling, loud laughing, sweating, slamming, and pounding, the after effect leaves a crisp silence. A silence that might be alarming if I didn't know it was all going to be over sooner than I was ready for. It's a kind of post-apocalyptic silence, after the fallout, but just before the zombies show up. There are hardly ever windows in these kitchens. The glow and hum do not come from anything celestial or planetary, but from the equipment. The lowboys creak and buzz, keeping all the leftover mise en place cool in their quart containers with their perfectly cut blue tape labels on their collars, looking like little schoolboys standing at attention with their perfectly pressed lapels. The soft-serve machine aches because it is never used properly and is grossly mistreated throughout the night. The dishwashing machine taps at random moments, waiting to be turned on, waiting to be ridden hard for 17 hours straight like the monster that it is. And the elephant of the walk-in cooler makes a noise so deep and constant that it doesn't register until one day it breaks down, revealing itself as the audible bass line of the whole kitchen, the tail end of a Buddhist prayer bell that grounds everyone, that serves as the key of collective energy for the entirety of a space. I would take my time in those early moments. I never rushed it. Those mornings fell between my life as the mother of 2 young kids, as the wife of a really good human who needs conversation much more than I ever do, and as the head of my own department with 3 cooks under me who were all novices at pastry. There was also the occasional cook from the line who was being punished. The line is where service is executed, where all the action happens every night. Pastry was sometimes treated like the cargo hold of an airplane, for the storage of things that were not useful or for people who were doing penance for lack of preparation and general fuck-off behavior. My already weak managerial skills pressed to the max. So those small moments to make coffee, to write prep lists, to gather my thoughts, to try to fit my heart back into the equation, became more essential to me than sleep or water. It became my ritual, my morning prayer. Tea and oranges that come all the way from China lulled Leonard Cohen as I tasted my bitter coffee, black with no cream, no sugar, just dark and hot and strong and pushing my eyelids higher with each sip. When my career was at what most considered its pinnacle, those early morning moments became necessary. I would thumb through recipes that I had spent the last decade writing and developing. I would try to make time to look through at least one beautiful book by someone I loved and admired. I would play with fruit for as long as I could. After all the checklists were checked, deliveries were signed for, orders were placed, and schedules were written, fruit was the first thing I would touch. Prepping and trimming and snacking while I had my coffee gave me a quiet moment and a memory recall that I needed. The methodical pace of tending to a few flats of strawberries or peaches or damson plums, my favorite of all the fruits, became the only time I still felt like a cook in my day-to-day life. A good piece of fruit, or several hundred good pieces of fruit, could inspire me to make a cold, frozen honey parfait so light, and so nearly something that felt just like honey air on your tongue, that it did not disrupt the fruit's pure ripeness. Or I'd rework my favorite pâte sucré to have a beefiness that might carry the sometimes off-putting taste of a pawpaw, an experiment until learning that buckwheat or a toasted chestnut flour rounds out nicely that nearly mineral taste that those unusual and sometimes curiously disgusting fruits have. Fruit is titillating, little pockets of juicy potential, full of an almost sexual promise of pleasure. It could make me change my mind and better my plans. The winter I first processed a few 100 pounds of apples. I spent the whole time dreaming about what they might become, my hands working faster and more efficiently with each step, peeling and coring and dicing and settling the pieces into an ice-cold lemon water bath, feeling a kind of calmness, knowing I was in the right place, doing the right work. Those meditations sealed my fate as a pastry chef. Those moments became the ones I looked for when I found myself in a job that seemingly had very little to do with them. My refusal to do work that felt empty, coupled with my intense work ethic, created a beautiful collision of opportunities. It allowed me to drink bottles of wine with my heroes until